Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. We need to talk about someone I find really funny, and that is far left activist journalist Rachel Gilmore, because she has yet again made a complete fool of herself. She seems to think that pointing out that someone is conservative is like a political gotcha, and right now she has been going on her own miniature crusade against Ben Mulroney because he hosts a radio show and is conservative. This is somehow like a big violation in her mind at the same time that she was a journalist at Global News and attempted to be a fact checker at CTV News and worked at a media watchdog group at the same time that she holds unhinged far left opinions on things while pretending that she is somehow objective. I don't want to belabor this intro too much. I just want to get into her stupid video. So, before I get into it, guys, I just want to quickly mention that if you like the show, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you are not yet a subscriber to the channel, and leave a comment on what you think about all this. But I will let Rachel Gilmore attempt to explain herself here.
Canada's least favorite Nepo baby is now going to be the interim host for one of Canada's largest political weekly shows. This is the same guy who said that saying there is a genocide in Gaza is the same as saying the earth is flat.
Yeah, because they're similarly untrue.
Seriously, listen to this clip from his podcast that is still on Spotify.
Oh, it's still on Spotify? Someone take it down. A man said something true? Goodness, take it off of Spotify.
Taking place.
There's no genocide taking place. Absolutely not. And we don't live on a flat earth, and there's no genocide taking place.
Wanted in many countries aside for Canada.
Listen, I'm not. Listen, I won't. Listen, there is no proof that a genocide is taking place, and if it is happening in any way, it is Hamas that is doing it. They so if you want to stand up for a terrorist state and terrorist government, you go right ahead, but not on my show. Thank you very much.
Sorry, he's absolutely right. Regardless of what people think about Israel, this is not a genocide. Populations don't keep increasing during a genocide. It's just called a war, and it in fact is an urban war with a very low casualty rate for civilians. It's like 1-to-1 with terrorist militants who are, by the way, still trying to use basically the population as a human shield, and somehow the casualty rate is still 1-to-1. You think this was the casualty rate when there was fighting going on in Europe in World War II? Not at all. Not when the Americans were in Iraq, not when the Americans were in Vietnam. The casualty rate for civilians in that war in Gaza is very low, and it's while you're having to fight terrorists who don't really wear uniforms and they're willing to do a lot of like horrible things in order to protect themselves, like hiding behind children. But again, somehow this is a big issue that Rachel Gilmore has with Ben Mulroney, that, you know, he has a coherent view on the war in Gaza, but she's so pro-Hamas, this is not good enough for her. I'm going to try and bring myself up on screen a little bit larger when we go back to Gilmore here. Anyways, take it away, Gilmore.
It's frankly a really embarrassing moment for Canadian media. I used to work for Global News, and I used to work out of the office where they would film this show. And I can tell you...
Oh, there it is. There it is. Rachel doesn't like the fact that Ben Mulroney is more liked by her former employers than she is, because she was so stupid, she landed Global News in a lawsuit with James Topp, the veteran, for calling him a white supremacist with no evidence at all. And then I actually covered this, and then she blocked me for it. I also covered the fact that she attempted to she helped dox a single mother Indigenous woman, and they were trying to get this lady to lose her job because she had merely posted in some Facebook groups, because she's conservative, that people should go to Rachel Gilmore on Twitter and disagree with her. Basically fact check her when she smears people like James Topp, even saying to do it respectfully. Rachel Gilmore and her crew deemed that a violation, and they doxed this woman, and Rachel Gilmore tried to share a lot of her personal information twice, and she says, well, technically it was on her Facebook page. Well, yes, but she runs an anonymous X account, and everything she does on Facebook is in anonymous groups, and then they traced it back to her actual real name and everything, found out where she worked, and then tried to harass them into firing her which good thing they did not do.
That some people at Global News are horrified by this. And they are seriously worried about how this hiring decision is going to impact the rest of them. It is
People might start flipping watching Global News. That's the big impact, is that by hiring someone like Ben Mulroney, they actually might have their viewership go up, because Ben Mulroney, despite being a conservative, is actually really good at putting on a pretty nonpartisan show. Yes, he has conservative opinions, but he can have other people on the show and speak with them. You know, everyone at the end of the day is pretty partisan. There's very few completely nonpartisan people who work in political media. But if you're going to have someone host a show with someone who's interesting, can carry it with their personality, and also is open to talking with others. That's why Ben Mulroney works here. And her saying, oh my goodness, there's people horrified at Global News by this decision. Okay, they should quit then. They should try and quit. They should try quitting, because obviously they do not have the integrity to be able to work with other people with different viewpoints other than what they already believe.
Also, as a former Global News employee, inconsistent with their handbook for their journalists. Let me give you an example of a post on this same topic that I got in trouble.
He's not a journalist. He's a commentator and show host. Like, I don't know how she's getting this wrong. Ben Mulroney doesn't think he's like a on-the-ground journalist, like, you know, with his notepad writing things down at a press conference. That's not who Ben Mulroney is.
Trouble for when I worked for Global News based on our JPMP, which are the rules that govern journalists' use of social media at Global. After journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was murdered by the IDF in 2022 in the West Bank, I tweeted this, quote, Canada also needs to reckon with how we report on and discuss the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's a disservice to everyone affected when we fail to acknowledge major atrocities and systemic discrimination against Palestinians. I finished off by saying our job is to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted.
Yeah, which is not actually journalism. That's not. That's social justice masquerading as journalism. Is the whole idea is, well, these people over here are kind of poor, and these people over here are kind of rich. Well, let's just start blaming people on blaming things on the Israelis because there is a rich person, because they are more wealthy, because it's a country that actually functions properly and actually has, you know, Western democratic values. And a lot of the things that get blamed on Israel are just completely false. I'm not sure what happened with this journalist. Maybe the person got killed by the IDF or something. Usually when stuff like this happens, I'm skeptical about what the situation was. Was this crossfire in a riot or something like that? Or some terrorist attack happened and someone got shot while there was bullets flying everywhere? Because that happens quite often in Israel because of all of the terror attacks.
When it comes to talking about Israel and Palestine, we sometimes seem to forget that balance. This was when I was living in North Africa, in Tunisia, on a placement with Journalists for Human Rights. And despite being on a placement on the other side of the world, I got this message from my editor-in-chief. Your recent tweet on Israel-Palestine does come across as biased, I'm afraid.
Yes, obviously it does. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with having a perspective. Well, one, she was supposed to be a neutral journalist. She was not an opinion person. But even as an opinion person, you should still care where the facts lead you. You shouldn't just be a propagandist. You should be that if Israel had killed this journalist and shot them, and there was no justification, there's no mistake made, even if a mistake was made, they still should issue some sort of a statement and, you know, and try and like do better. But like, obviously, even if Israel had done something wrong, sure, they should, you know, actually try and make up for it in some way. Overall, though, when you're in the Middle East, when you're in the conflict between Israel, the IDF, and Hamas or Fatah, this is not like, you have to be able to report on it in such a way that makes people realize, you have to be able to even write opinion articles like you're not a Hamas propagandist, just jabbing Israel whenever you can and excusing everything the terrorists do.
As written, I'm afraid it violates our JPNP. So how can they turn around and hire someone like this, who, to be clear, was already hosting a radio show under the same parent?
Yeah, so Ben Mulroney here says, she's not reading his tweet, he says, well, given the fact that Hamas is shooting hungry and innocent Palestinians in the back for trying to get food that the terrorists are hoarding, I'm pretty sure you should shut the F up. Okay,
and
I agree with him.
That, how can you expect him to be a fair host of a political show when, beyond bias, he's an outright partisan? I do think that as journalists, we should be more transparent about our
Oh my goodness, he agrees with his father? Wow.
biases and shouldn't pretend that we can be entirely neutral so that our audiences can then critically engage with our reporting. That doesn't mean I think we should be outright partisan, like when Ben Mulroney told Mark Carney to be afraid of Pierre Poilievre. That's not doing factual reporting with transparency about your biases. That is blatant partisanship.
Okay, yeah, he hosts a radio show, and he is, in fact, a conservative host and commentator.
This is blatant partisanship. And this is outright embarrassing for Global. I'll leave you with
What? Yeah, literally, what the hell? Why would she even show this on screen? It's destroying her entire point. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but it's Ben Mulroney reacting to somebody saying that he's not a real reporter, and he says, "You're probably right, except I'm not a journalist, dude. I'm paid for my opinion." Yes, it's an opinion show, and he gives his, wait for it, opinion. And this is something that Rachel Gilmore is confused by.
this is outright embarrassing for Global. I'll leave you with this.
This is an ad for jeans by a hot chick with big boobs.
Good luck with the new gig, Ben. We're all good.
I don't even know what she thinks she has all these gotchas, and she just doesn't. But she does this kind of crazy eye thing at the end to kind of show you that she made a big point here because she can bug out her eyes. Oh wow, that's crazy what he just said there. You know, and as if Rachel Gilmore is not a far left propagandist, and that she's like, you know, embarrassed by the sorts of things that Ben Mulroney is saying. Now we have to go to her most recent video because she is still not left well enough alone when it comes to Ben Mulroney. And now she's like digging up his political donations and comparing all of this to what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. Now, if the Trump administration had put any pressure to get ABC to fire Jimmy Kimmel, that's wrong. It's stupid. And Jimmy Kimmel should have just been fired for, frankly, being a terrible person and having low ratings. But based on the evidence that's out there, it seems like ABC just made the independent decision to fire him, and no pressure really got them to buckle. Again, they shouldn't have had what is the regulator of television in the U.S. But you get my point. The regulator had made some stupid comments about what he had said was wrong. Pam Bondi had used the word hate speech a couple of times in relation to things that people are saying about Charlie Kirk. Things can be vile, but never use the word hate speech because it invokes the whole idea that you can be prosecuted for just simply having a hateful opinion without inciting anything. But now let's jump over to Rachel Gilmore, trying to draw a connection between Jimmy Kimmel and Ben Mulroney.
What just happened with Jimmy Kimmel is a blatant attack on freedom of speech. And it not only exposes the depth of right-wing hypocrisy, but also the dangers of having an increasingly concentrated media ecosystem, wherein fewer and fewer corporations and individuals own more and more of our media, which is a threat to press freedom, because so much more power is then concentrated in their hands. But
what is she talking about? She worked at Global News. She worked at she worked at an outlet in Canada, which represents a very, very homogenized media space. There are far more outlets in the United States than there are in Canada, and she's acting like Jimmy Kimmel being fired for saying blatantly wrong things, having extremely low ratings, and being an overall nasty person is like a big attack on free speech and shows the corporate conglomeratization of the American media space.
it's not only US media companies that are making unethical decisions. One of Canada's largest media companies just did something really worrying.
Really worrying. Oh my goodness, they hired Ben Mulroney, guys. What the heck? Oh my god, guys, they hired the guy who used to do cameos on Corner Gas. How are we going to survive this?
And I just uncovered something new that makes it even worse. As you may already know, Global News, which I used to work for, just gave Ben Mulroney, Canada's least favorite Nepo baby, the interim hosting gig of the West Block.
Oh, if she says he's the least favorite, then I guess he is.
That is one of Canada's largest political weekly shows. And it's one of the few shows where journalists challenge politicians directly on their policies and decisions. So it really matters who is in that chair asking those questions. So tell me why they gave that coveted position to someone who donated almost the maximum annual amount that he could to the Conservative Party of Canada just last September.
Because he's an opinion host who's hosting an opinion show. Like, she's so confused by like basic concepts. like that a host of a political opinion show may have some political opinions. She's the funny thing, she's obviously not actually confused by this because she works with and celebrates far more partisan people than Ben Mulroney is. Ben Mulroney's pretty partisan. Obviously, he's donated to conservatives. But she's friends with people like Erica Iffel, who is this far left, like black supremacist, if you've ever read some of her tweets, this anti-Semitic black supremacist who still works at the Hill Times. And whatever, she writes bad opinion articles. I guess that's her right to do so. Like, the thing is that she hangs out with people like this, Rachel Gilmore, and she never thinks, oh my goodness, Erica, can you tone it down a notch for a second? Can you act a little bit less like Black Hitler for a second? So that, think about the integrity of your work. She doesn't care. She only considers it partisan if she doesn't agree with the opinion.
In my last video, I raised concerns about the degree of partisanship that we see from Ben Mulroney, given he's tweeted stuff like telling Mark Carney to be afraid of Pierre Poilievre. But not only has he been outright partisan on social media, he is directly financially contributing to one political party.
Oh my goodness, it's the worst. It's the worst. Look, he can't do this. This is the worst. He can't donate to things. He can't have opinions on an opinion show. What the heck is going on in global? They get rid of Rachel, their star journalist, who only got them into lawsuits because of her stellar reporting. And now they have Ben Mulroney, and a man with an opinion hosting an opinion show. How could they do this to us?
The Conservative Party of Canada. Now, you might be wondering, hey, Rachel, there could be another Ben Mulroney who also lives in Toronto who also contributed near the maximum amount allowable per year to the Conservative Party. Well, this contribution, it has a postal code associated with it. And when I searched that postal code, I found that Ben Mulroney was listed as having the exact same one in a consulting agreement that was published with the company Midori Bio Inc., which
she's going down so hard. She's going down such a rabbit hole to prove something that nobody cares about, as if she's found the secret evidence. Okay, who cares?
Ben lists as a company he's worked with in his bio on globalnews.ca. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our guy. Not only that, but when I searched his name associated with that postal code, I also found that Ben Mulroney attended a paid fundraiser, specifically one held less than a year ago in late November 2024, where the amount paid to attend the event is anywhere from $0 to $1,725. That, by the way, is the maximum amount an individual could contribute to a registered party in 2024. But maybe Ben got it.
Is she going to tell us all about donation law in this country? Who cares? Where is she actually attempting to even go with it? Why does Rachel Gilmore go where we cannot follow? Because we were following her point for a bit, and then she walked off the road and she started talking about how donations work and how he has a postal code and was on this contract and he donated to conservatives. It was near the maximum, and the maximum of $1,725. It's like, who cares? Okay, what's your point though? I don't understand where this is getting to the point where he can't host the West Block, an opinion news show.
him for free because he had already contributed $1,625 in September. And the evening was called An Afternoon with Pierre Poilievre in support of the Conservative Party. And now he's going to be the nonpartisan host of one of Canada's only and largest political weekly shows. Anyway, I reached out to Ben and gave him the opportunity to comment. He didn't get back to me in time. Same goes for the folks at Chorus Entertainment, which is the parent company of Global News. It would be great if upper management at these companies could stop making decisions that impugns journalists' credibility and threatens our independence. There are very talented journalists at Global News who are now going to have their credibility in question because of this decision from upper management. And I'd imagine that
all these people have this ridiculous kind of perspective that, oh my goodness, there's all these people sitting around, holding their notepads, scared because Ben Mulroney is having opinions in the other room on an opinion news show. Someone's going to ask, I'm going to be a Global News journalist sitting at a cafe holding my latte, and someone's going to enter and say, don't you work at that place that hires that horrible man, Ben Mulroney? And you're going to be like, I don't know what to say. I have no credibility now because Ben Mulroney works for us. A man who has very center-right opinions on a lot of things. He's actually kind of a good person to be hosting a show. He's conservative, but he's kind of like center-right conservative. Just as if you had a liberal like Vashi Kapelos at CTV News hosting a show, she has more center-left opinions. Guess what? She's a good host. She's good at bringing people on and talking to them. Ben Mulroney is good at bringing people onto a show and talking to them. Like, what is this? This whole feigning, it's what you call concern trolling. What's going to happen to the journalistic integrity of Global News? Global News' journalistic integrity sucks most of the time. In fact, it improved quite a bit when they fired Rachel Gilmore because, again, she'd do stuff like in an objective news report, just accusing Polyev of partnering with white nationalists and whatnot, and then she got sued for it because it was wrong. Like, that is what hurts the credibility of Global News, not having an opinion guy doing an opinion show. What hurts Global News is how they basically are stenographers for the Liberal government on so many issues. They'll kind of bring up things that the Conservatives say, but they just kind of print whatever the Liberals say as if it's just like the truth. It's just objectively, obviously true, whatever the Liberal said. But if you say, say something as a Conservative, oh, we're going to bring in the experts to say why you're totally not right on an issue where it's like the experts aren't even right about it. Like, the experts don't know what they're talking about. I've had stuff like this happen from other outlets, not Global, whereas like I'll say something and you'll bring in an expert to like fact check me on something that either does not matter at all, like the fact check, they're usually wrong in it, and then it doesn't matter. And then they would never do this to somebody else, like trying to like dig down and find like minuscule little pieces of information or little context to add in order to like undermine me. Like, I had that guy who somehow became a senator, Christopher Wells, say that a quote I had said that was pulled out of context was transphobic and dangerous to press progress. He didn't even know what I had actually said. They just told him what they think I said because they're far leftists. And then he gave a far left opinion that was considered that was considered good journalism by Press Progress's standards and probably Rachel Gilmore's as well. It's so embarrassing. Going on multiple videos and multiple posts, I can't even show it all, just whining at the fact that Ben Mulroney has the toy that you wanted, Rachel, because you wanted to keep your stupid job at Global News despite sucking at it. And now that Ben Mulroney's there doing a good job in his role, it's like, we need to take him down because he doesn't agree with me that there's a fictional genocide happening in Gaza. Oh, my goodness. Anyways, well, with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys here next time.